us on Universal Heritage Television Nigeria. We bring you another interesting edition of our breakfast show, Daybreak Nigeria. My name is Afam Echi, your host. I have two gentlemen here to discuss the issue for today. And what we're going to talk about, we are just going to take a look on one or two issues relating to the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially on the issue of probing the past administration. And the two gentlemen I have here are, starting from my immediate left, is Barrister Mike Oti. Barrister Mike Oti is an Imo-based attorney. Barrister Mike, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on this show.
And next to him is Elder Lambert Ojukwu. Elder Lambert Ojukwu is a senior journalist in Imo. He's the editor-in-chief and publisher of the News Point newspaper. Elder, you're welcome to our program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And like I said, please remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform. Let me start with you, Ojukwu. This country, one of the issues that has troubled everybody is the issue of corruption. And in the last administration, that government was, claimed themselves to have come to stamp out corruption. And but some other persons believe that in the process, corruption overwhelmed them or consumed them. And there were so many issues like huge expenditure on budgetary expenditure on security, railway, and so many other projects. So much money was lost. And people are not seeing this government talk about proving the past government to be able to recover these funds. There's so much corruption alleged to have been perpetrated by the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, why do you think the government is not willing, the government of Tinubu is not willing to probe the previous administration?
Oh, thank you very much. My reaction, the answer is obvious. Because this is an APC government. Don't forget, Buhari was a president of APC. So it's not possible, or maybe it may not be likely, that he would like to probe his own government. Because, what's his name? Bola Tinubu is an offshoot of APC. For me, like they say, government is a continuum. So he said during his campaign that he will continue from where Buhari stopped. So there's nothing for me, in quote, to probe there than to continue where the man stopped. So all those things, the best he can do for me, because of their party, is the same political party. If we were expecting that the Labour Party or NNPP has won, or PDP or any other party who had won, and then we begin to talk of tacit probing. But I think subtly, what the man has done is not to probe, but it's probing individuals whom he felt put thought to his ability to come back, to retain the position as a president. Like you have the EFCC. I understand the EFCC boss, Bauer, made an attempt of trying to probe his activities in the US. The drug allegation that Bauer wrote him a letter, I've seen it online. He wrote him a letter asking him to appear to answer to that. We also know that it was alleged that the former CBN governor, who also ran to become the president under APC, wanted to be president. He couldn't do that, for he now, with Bauer, in coalition or in conjunction with Bauer, advised Buhari to introduce the design in order to bring down the weight of Ahmed Tinubu, because it was said that he has a lot of money to throw about. So they wanted to resign the money so that most of his money excesses will be weak. So for me, it is a subtle way of also maybe not attacking Buhari by way of probe, but a kind of witch hunting, or hunting those whom he felt are his enemies. But so that angle of probing cannot work. For me, it cannot be there, because it's the same party. APC ordinarily may not be seen to be probing APC.
Okay, Barrister Oti.
Yes.
You're a lawyer. I don't know, you listen very well to Ojukwu. And I don't know whether what he said is in line with your opinion. Because look at it from this angle. We are talking about the corruption fight. And you mentioned that Tinubu said he was going to continue from where Buhari stopped. So, which means if Buhari had lost money through corrupt processes, in the past, he's going to continue it. And that's why he doesn't want to probe any person. So is it right, looking at it legally, because it is an APC family, and then just to sweep everything under the carpet and move on? So what are your thoughts about Tinubu's unwillingness to probe the past administration?
Well, thank you for the question. But I think what Dojuku said is correct, because they are members of the same party, political party. That is one. But I also want to add that Tinubu as a person, I do not think he has the willpower to fight corruption. Okay. If you look at his antecedents, I do not think it is correct to look at him and say he's incorruptible himself. Though there are some of those issues that we may have against him are not unimpeachable. Do you understand? Because there is no government agency or probably anti-corruption intervention agency that has taken him on and established cases of corruption against him.
You mean against Tinubu?
Against Tinubu, yes. But obviously you and I know, because the truth lies with the masses. You and I know that he's not incorruptible. So I don't think he has the willpower to fight corruption. Because after his own administration, comes another government, which may not be from APC. So if eventually he probes people, those people will also trigger his own probe after his own administration. Then another thing I think is that before the campaign, I hardly heard him, put that anti-corruption as priority in his agenda to tackle when he eventually wins the election. So he has never been an anti-corruption person.
He has never.
Yes, he has never been. Yes, he has never been stern. He has never been stern, or been. He has never talked tough on anti-corruption. Do you understand? Yeah. That's fighting corruption. So that is the way I look at it.
Okay. Now, Edojuku, you talked about him selecting people individually. You mentioned Bawa, the EFCC chairman. You mentioned the CBN. Emefiele. Now, those things, do you not think it is amounts to personal vindictiveness? Selecting people and then punishing them for acts of corruption, when there are lots more others, then he will overlook them. Is that not an endorsement to corruption in itself?
Well, like we were saying, it still boils down to the same thing. You must also know that birds of the same feather flock together. Like the counsel, the lawyer has said, if you don't have a background of legitimacy, integrity, you may not have the muscle to begin to fight corruption. Because if you look at, with due respect to the president, there may be many factors. One can say it is still too early. Because one, whichever way you look at it, the case at the tribunal is a diversion. It's caused a sort of concern to this government, whether we like it or not. Because if you look at the feelers from social media and even from the media, there's also that the government is they are very apprehensive because nobody has been able to prove how the so-called election was won by them. That is one. So he could also be taking his time to slow down. And that drives us, if you can take away from it, the idea of not presenting his what do you call it now? His ministers. So I think he has about 5 more days from today, by the law signed by the Buhari government, to represent it and unearth them. And so, but these are the things there. They are above all his background, like the council said. What is his background? Nobody has come out to tell us his. Yes, he's from Ondo State. I think so. He's from Ondo State. Adeleke is his governor. Nobody has told us he's his brother. Nobody told us where he's come from. Nobody has told us he's a his schoolmate. So, spuriously, so to speak, the corruption is embedded on his personality. So then we also talk about this, the rumor and the scam in the US, drug and all that. So those are the things. So he doesn't have the muscle, the temerity to say that. Then these people which want it, normally, if you know the history, there's a woman called, who was his vice deputy chairman in his first outing. Okay. One of the popular families. So the woman, in Lagos State, the woman said he doesn't forgive. That if we have a president who cannot forgive, if you deal with him, he wants to pay you back. So even though he may do it softly, but that is why she couldn't come back. So, you know, that time. So he doesn't forgive, he may pretend, but he has to come after you. That's why. The idea was, why must Bauer write him a letter? If something he has overcome over the small boy to write him a letter. See, there are people who come into power. When they come into power, they think they are hegemonies of power. They forget that this is democracy. Yeah. If you think you are too big to serve the people, stay in your house. So he's the president we have, with due respect, feels is a Jagaban. You know what Jagaban means? If you Google it, Jagaban means the warrior, a lion of power, of war. So for him, every other person must go to. You can see that in what he did when he chose his deputy. The party said no. He came back from law overseas and said, that is what I want. Now look what happened with the Senate. The Senate president was chosen by him. The same two people who have taken. He said when he said something, he put his 2 feet on the ground and he must get it. That woman is somebody Bokno, Akarele Bokno. And the woman that had his vice in the first outing. So the man cannot say, whenever he says whatever he wants, he gets it. He has money, he has everything, and he has contact. And let me also, there is a gang of Talibans around him who are giving him support to what he's doing. So Nigeria will not even get better than what we have. So let's not talk about corruption or checkmating corruption. Okay.
So Mike, overall, what do you think is the implication for Nigerians and the corruption? You know, people said if corruption doesn't, if you get corruption, corruption will.
No, he's the president, the former president that said so. Buhari.
And now we have a president who appears not to, but his body language says it's like he has endorsed corruption. So what do you think is the implication for Nigerians and all?
The implication, well, I believe I'm one person that I've been through time and over the years been positive about Nigeria. We'll get there someday, but it may take long, but we'll get there. So I think it is a bad day that somebody in that category or class was declared Nigerian president after this 2023 election, because we had high hopes of getting it right with that election, but it is still not over until the cases are determined at the courts. So let us keep our fingers across and watch. But I know that someday Nigeria will get it right. But at the moment, like I said, the person who occupies the position as the president of Nigeria currently is not an enemy of corruption. He may not be a friend of corruption, but he's not an enemy of corruption. That is the reason why he hardly talks tough on corruption. I don't know whether you have any except of interview where he came out bold,
I said I will fight it,
stamped his feet and said, I must fight corruption, or I will wipe corruption from our public life. I have never heard that. If you have, please avail me a copy. I will want to also know. So that is my own take. But I believe that we will someday get it right. Even if at the end of the day, the court endorses the sham of an election that was conducted in March 2023. And he has only 4 years. 4 years is still a term, not far. 2027, we will talk about another election. Do you understand? Between now and 2027, we will be talking about another election. So it's even if it takes time, we must get there. We must get there. But there is one thing I must state. Last election brought to the fore the fact that Nigerians are determined to bring about the change they really need. and it must come to pass. You know, fighting and entrenched corruption has been endemic over the years. It's been established for a very long time. So it's a monster that has grown numerous tails. Yes, with claws. Do you understand? To exterminate whoever that wants to fight it. So it will take time, but certainly one day that tag of corruption in the Committee of Nations, which Nigeria bear, will be taken away.
Okay. Thank you. Elder Lambert.
Well, I don't know if you want me to add up a little to that.
Okay.
For instance, you are talking about the body language. Yeah. If you see what is happening, like you said, the council said, corruption must fight back. And there are 1 or 2 persons in this place, in this current dispensation, who can be fingered as being corrupt. What elicited their coming to power is embedded in corruption. For instance, the Senate president, he didn't run for primaries. He's there. You also have the other man who left, Lawan. He's in the same Senate.
And he didn't run.
He didn't run for this. But there's a law that is tacit. I'm not a lawyer, but there is you must go through primaries before you come to this place. But it's there. These are people who are going to make, who are making orders for us in Nigeria. Laws for us in Nigeria. So, and again, you come and see the kind of principle, the things they have put down. And they're talking about if you are a fighter of corruption, in fact, you are inadvertently an activist. An activist is, so to see, presumably to be on the side of the people.
Yeah, definitely.
But this government, from what we have seen in about 57 days now, today is making 57 days the man came on the saddle of leadership. There is nothing to show that they want to carry the people along, or they are protecting the masses. Now, for instance, yesterday, it was announced that public schools will be paying from 45,000 to 100,000. Is it not triple the amount? Now, you had the first announcement the president made was that subsidy was gone. Subsidy was gone. You have not gone into the government. You have not looked at the papers to see what you have. And you removed it. No iota of plan. 56 days is enough for somebody, a very good government, in a very better climb, to say, this is what we're going to do. Only the governors, for instance, the Borno State governor and that of Rivers, have brought about mass transit, at least to cushion off this thing. A palliative. And when people talk, they talk about civil servants. How many civil servants do you have in all the states? There are people like us. Sometimes you park your car because you cannot. The kind of car we have, the volume of fuel, petrol you buy, you cannot afford it. And nobody says there is any law stopping me from entering any vehicle to go where I want to go, which is what I've been doing all these days. So we don't have people around this government now presently so constituted that can give us the feeling that they will fight corruption. You don't have plans about the removal of subsidy. You are talking about taxes, where every year now you pay 1,000 for whatever reason for owning a car. The fuel and the latitude for the price of fuel to go up is just there. There is no measurement. NNPC is the one dictating the thing. There is nobody in charge. So what it means is that this government was not prepared. They had no blueprint to come to say this is what we want to do. So Nigeria may be going down the drains, except something happens.
Okay, Barrister Mike, you heard him said this government does not appear prepared, and that means Nigeria will be going down. So on the strength of that, Tinubu may have spent 57 days in power now. What significantly can you point to? What significantly, positive or negative, what significantly can you point to? Especially on the positive side that may have impacted the lives of people. The government may have done so far as it approaches 2 months.
On the positive side?
Yes.
Well, if the one positive thing I have seen is probably the appointment of the sacking of the former service chiefs and appointing new ones. And with due respect to him, the appointment of the new service chiefs, if you look at the pedigree of the people appointed, you cannot say he did not appoint well. Okay. Though it is time that will tell whether the persons appointed will deliver on the mandates given to them. But if with their background, their performance, their track record in their military career, respective military careers, I think is good appointment. But Generally, I would say there are more negatives than positive.
Okay, let me hold it there. Let me now. When you said okay, you're giving him kudos, you're giving me credit for that. There's no problem. That's okay. But does it go down well with you that a lot of other persons have to be discharged? Retired forcefully just to accommodate the new ones that were appointed. Does it mean that from the line down to the persons appointed, none was found, so are you comfortable with that?
Well, I do not like the idea of retiring our experienced generals, in the military, particularly when there are many in number. But at the same time, if by the grace of God, the people appointed are the ones that will deliver, I am not also against it. Like I said, it is time that will tell whether that decision is a right one or a wrong one. Retiring numerous military personnel that have been trained over the years to deliver, do you understand, on the mandate of security, just for you to begin to recruit new ones that you will train, is not a good decision. But at the same time, if the appointments made will actually be the solution we seek in terms of insecurity.
It can make up for this.
Yes, to fight insecurity and fight it to stand still. If you fight insecurity to stand still, if those appointments will represent the result we seek, we have been seeking, and eventually these service chiefs, working as a team, fight this insecurity in all the regions to a standstill, then we will say they have done well. And even the person who appointed them must have also done well. Yeah. So we will probably forgive the person who retired numerous military personnel in order to get it right. So because one thing I believe is in whatever will give me the result I seek, I do it. It does not matter, the many heads that will rule along the line of making that decision.
Anyway, to add up to that, if you allow me.
Feel free, go ahead.
Now, you find out that the people who were retired, I said if you look at what we gathered in the media, Buhari promoted a lot of military people. He came from a background of military too.
Yeah.
Most of these people who retired are military people who are maybe one of who may have some favors from him and all that. So he retired, he brought in a lot of people. A lot of people were promoted. There were too many generals, too many this and that there.
That may not be meritorious.
For any importance to what we're looking for. Too many cooks, they say, spoil the soup. And again, you find out that, talking about corruption and anti-corruption, this present government retired them, or present president retired them and gave them SUVs and gave them a lot of laggies. It's like they are going to become political elites the moment they leave. You saw the way they were dragged out. There were ceremonies, to a kind of it was a kind of palliative to appease them. For them, the man is a technocrat politically. Let's not give it to him. Yeah. Politically, the man is a technocrat. He knows knows the strokes. He knows the strokes. And they find out that most of the 80% of people around him are people he has groomed all the years. For instance, his information man was his first commissioner of IGP was his orderly.
Yes.
A small boy that was standing behind when he was governor. This current IGP, Egbetekun. So he came a long way to do these things. But Jabi Amela was his boy in the US, and he has brought back, put him in the house, nurture him, administratively, and he's brought him back now, even though he won a second term, for him to relinquish that position to become his chief of staff. When your chief of staff is somebody very close to you.
Yes, very trusted ally. Yes.
So for me, I think even though we were talking about his age and dementia and all that, he has kind of surrendered himself with people whom he knew. Yes, whom we say, do this, they just wave his hand and they know what to do. So having said all that, the people who were retired, maybe like council said, maybe Deadwoods, or people who are no longer found credible in what we're doing. Remember too, there were scandals about
Some of them.
From some of them.
Unmerited promotions.
From the time of Burata, even
Yes.
corruption.
Yes.
There were certain equipment, certain planes that were supposed to be used by Nigeria to dictate, people in Sabisa Forest. They brought the wrong one. Ate the money. So a lot of scandals. So in order not to go into probing like we are talking about, which means probing the inept of his predecessor, he decided to say, let these guys go and let's give them some stipends and keep them comfortable while we now go move ahead. I think it could be, if it gives us peace, it's okay.
Okay, yeah, Barrister, you're a lawyer. Let me dwell with you on this issue. Recently Tinubu made a statement that if he is removed, then that is going to create anarchy for the nation. And many people are not comfortable with that comment. And people talk about, what do you call this in kind of interfering or influencing the judgment that is already...
subjudice.
A matter that is already...
Subjudice, yes.
Then I'm talking about this. Maybe he could be doing so using his position as the president, because they said he has a kind of immunity. But do you think that is not likely to influence the election petition panel? When he said...
Ordinarily, yes, ordinarily. Anyway, let me take on my own personal swipe on the statement. Yeah. You see, that statement coming from the person of the president is irresponsible and it is reckless at the same time. But counting it as something that will affect the independence of the judges in taking decision, as juries in the panels, respective panels constituted to look into the election petitions, I do not think it should count. Because, you see, a judge in a case ordinarily has his ears closed, do you understand, to statements that are made in the streets, ordinarily. Except when the statement directly affects the proceeding of the court. Okay. Yes, except if it has a direct impact on the proceeding of the court. Maybe if you take on a proceeding of the court when a judgment has not been given and start reviewing the proceeding, which is still ongoing and there has not been any determination of that suit, I think that's when there will be very serious issue. But for me, the president spoke like a reckless politician that he has been. You understand? So it should not, that statement ordinarily shouldn't affect the integrity of the judges. It is only a judge who has donated himself, do you understand, or who wants to be pliable, that will now yield to such subtle threats, if we decide to call it a subtle threat. If any judge that yields, to my own opinion, to my mind, decided to make himself available for sort because normally it should be a non-issue to the judicial proceeding. It should be a non-issue. A judge at all times is expected to be courageous, is expected to be bold, is expected to stamp his feet and make correct determination of matters before him in accordance with law and facts presented.
In accordance with law and facts. We're coming close to the end of the program. Elder Lambert, now can you set a one-point agenda for the administration of Tinubu? What significantly talks at your mind, which if you, assuming you become the president, what would you like him to do that can change the face of the suffering, change the face of people, things in Nigeria?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of ideas have gone out there. It's not enough that people are talking. It's more important that the people who are the center of leadership are listening. Because if you have people who are very obstinate, who do not know what service to the people means, they may not be able to listen to the people. There are a lot of ideas people have propounded.
Yeah, one significant
one. Yes, one significant one, my brother.
That will have massive.
Yes, it's transport.
Okay, transport.
Just to remove sentiment. You're not talking about sharing money. It's mundane and primitive. give you 8,000, giving this. Those things shouldn't matter because it is a leeway pipe. It is a to corruption. All you do is monetize those money, use it in doing things infrastructurally, like I bring up about transport costs across any other palliative, and the palliative is available in all over the world. So there must be palliative. Now, if you put it in the transport, those who are producing food in Borno, whatever, they will have easy transport into bringing their food in. Listen, people in Izumbe who are producing cassava and this, if you go to the market, you still see those things. Tomatoes, onions are no longer there because people can't come easily. That is one. It will also, that one is the primary thing they should have done. Brought all these, what they call them now, CNGs, vehicles that are driven with gas. Which Innocent has started doing now. Chinese people have started doing it online. People are saying it's very simple. All you do is convert the normal thing from petroleum to gas, which they are doing already. We've seen the samples they brought them. So that's what they are supposed to do. There's no way government cannot subsidize something in this in any government, even in a overseas country. So, but the easiest way where that affects everybody is transport, because more people move around. So that is what they ought to do. If they had done that, in fact, it was too apt for them to have said they have removed subsidy. Subsidy could have removed within 5 months, 6 months, without an announcement, without fanfare. Government would have arranged this thing with state governors, brought in mass transport. People would have been wondering what is happening. Imo has mass transport. These people have 36 states have mass transport. Then you now come in and say quietly you have removed it. And there wouldn't have been too much noise if you had a government that had policy that was prepared. What is the essence of announcing it? What do you want to achieve? Do you understand? After all, it's been there.
The announcement effect has created
more problem. Then that is one. This, I expect that one, the government seems to be carrying a lot of punishment on the people too fast. You brought about education. You are increasing the price of education. You have not done anything to release that. You are just doing a lot of things. You bring this one, you bring tax, you bring this one. So I should think that government should concentrate, liberalize transport, subsidize it, and then every other thing follow. Take it gradual by gradual. Second thing they should have done is to bring agriculture to make sure.
I gave you only one point.
Okay.
Just within 1 minute, if you can give us your own 1 point and then the government.
For the president?
For the president, yes, federal government.
Well, I'll give two. Fight insecurity.
Finish.
Fight insecurity, because even the mass transit, system he's talking about, if you provide the buses, bandits and criminals will be attacking those buses. Look at the train. Look at the train that that put in place. The Kaduna train, completely off rail.
Twice.
Off rail, completely. So the government, I expect the president, let him work on the security architecture, then put up a very workable blueprint, security blueprint that will work. Tackle insecurity, fight the criminals to a standstill. Then you will see that some of these things will start picking up. Again, another thing is ensure that you set up a very sound economic team. You see, yes, an economic team that will be in the selection of members of the economic team.
No sentiment.
He should not be driven by primordial sentiments like tribe, religion, and all that. Set up a team that will deliver. You see, the important, when you are in government, what should dominate your interest is result. Anything that will enable you achieve result, do it. Even if you use your bitterest enemy to get the result, use your bitterest enemy to get it. That's what governance is all about. Providing public good.
Okay. So what you mean is that if there is security, every other thing will follow.
Yes, if you get security right, then you get the economy working. Then another thing is power. Fist power. Nigeria will be on the path to greatness.
Eldorado.
Yes, path to greatness.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to the program. Ojuku, thank you so much for being part of us.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, but thank you too for coming.
It's my pleasure too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, viewers, this is where we draw the curtain and divide them, discuss the issue of corruption in the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and so many other suggestions they have given. It is all for the authorities to take a cue and everything will be arranged for the country. On this note, we draw the curtain. My name again is Afam Echi. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform. Thank you so much.